Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Grung. I'm Hovik Manucharyan. This Conversations on Grung episode will feature a discussion on the continued attempts by the Azerbaijani regime to ethnically cleanse the Republic of Artsakh of its indigenous Armenian population. This episode was recorded on Wednesday, December 14, 2022. We're talking with Gev Iskajyan, representative of ANC in Artsakh. Hello, Gev. How are you doing?
I'm doing all circumstances in mind. I'm doing well, Hovik John. Thanks for having me on.
Gev, so we're now entering the third day of basically a complete transportation blockade of Artsakh, and this is the second day of an energy blockade as well. Can you brief us about the current humanitarian situation on the ground, or what you're seeing there?
Yeah. So this is the third day now where Azerbaijani state-sponsored provocateurs have more or less blockaded the entirety of Artsakh, effectively by closing off the only transportation route that we have in and out of the country. Now, with that comes a few important things. That means that no food, supplies, medicine, or any of the basic necessities that a population needs to survive are being let through Artsakh. And on the other side of it, nobody that needs emergency medical care, none of the economic trade that this country needs to, survive, to maintain jobs and all those things, are going out of the country. So there's a really dire and serious situation going on. And I think that all of that has been amplified even more so by the fact that in the last 24 hours or so, they have cut off the gas supply line here. Now, if there's folks listening in from the diaspora, it's very cold. It was about 3 degrees Celsius, just yesterday. So the people, many of them, tens of thousands, rely on gas for heating, for food, for a multitude of reasons. So right now we're facing a real crisis in real time on multiple fronts.
I read somewhere that there's even now food rationing. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so all the supplies, whether it's medicine, whether it's food, whether it's even, like propane tanks and other necessities that we have in the country are finite right now because there's nothing coming in, right? So everyone is very aware, they're very cognizant of that fact, and everything is being rationed. Beyond just food, even, we'll see much less drivers on the street because there's no gasoline coming in. So this affects and permeates through all layers of society here. And it's a really, really serious issue right now.
And as I understand it, also schools are closed because of lack of heating capabilities. Is that correct?
Yeah, due to the fact that it's wintertime and we can't keep the kids in schools that don't have the proper ventilation, that don't have the proper heating resources, they are now barred essentially from an education. And we're talking about tens of thousands of kids today that are in essence denied an access to outright education.
Have you heard of any sort of political demands or goals from Azerbaijan? Not that we should sort of entertain those, but what is basically the reason why Azerbaijan has, decided to do this?
So this is twofold. On the surface, they're making it seem like this is a quote unquote environmentalist protest, but we're obviously aware of the fact that that's a lie. One,
Right.
The corridor that they're protesting in is a heavily militarized corridor. The Azerbaijani society that exists in terms of the political landscape doesn't allow for free democratic protests. So anything that happens in terms of a protest on this scale, where you have, I believe there are pictures that came out with like Azerbaijani policemen on top that are essentially guarding these provocateurs. Anything that you have on that level is outright state sanctioned. So under the guise of environmentalism, they want to check out some mines or whatnot. And the interesting part is they've been building mines along the occupied territories post-war. which they
Right.
don't seem to care about, and yet they have this like vested interest in the few mines that exist in Artsakh. They want access to them, and that's absolutely a non-starter for us. But beneath that, under all of that, there's obviously, I wouldn't, Hovik, I don't know if I would categorize it as demands, more than a systematic effort, methodically done so, to basically roll out this process of ethnic cleansing. Their ultimate goal is to make it very difficult for the populace here to survive. Their ultimate goal is to break the will of the people that live here, to cause fear, to cause uncertainty, and to eventually see this territory of Artsakh rid of all Armenians, of the entire Armenian populace. So their ultimate goal is to see an Artsakh without Armenians in it, and this is one of their methods in doing so. That is what they want. The demands and negotiations and all that stuff aside, we have to keep in mind that they have an ultimate goal, and it's fully vested and based in the ethnic cleansing of Artsakh.
And as far as I'm aware, so far the EU spokesperson has called on Azerbaijan to cease the blockade. The United States has issued a similar statement. And just today, I believe we read in the Russian Peacekeepers Daily Report directly sort of blaming the Azerbaijani side for the blockade. However, other organizations, I'm thinking specifically like the United Nations, have been silent. Overall, what do you think about the quality? I mean, what do you think about the quantity, like, basically the overall responses to this, and also the quality of the responses?
Look, the condemnation as a starter is okay. Like, and I'm not saying it's okay and that we're satisfied. I'm comparing it with what we've seen in the past, where we have human rights abuses here, and they use this both sidesism language. Following this blockade, as you mentioned, both Ned Price from the U.S. State Department, the special envoy from the EU, and some other foreign diplomats and world powers that be have put out statements outright condemning Azerbaijan, saying that this is a human rights catastrophe. That is a good starter. However, that does not produce much tangible results for us, obviously. What we want to see are punitive measures. So if Azerbaijan is going to blockade an entire population of 120,000 people, we would hope that the repercussions of such an action are more than a tweet, are more than a statement, are more than a press release. When at the same time Azerbaijan is doing this and the EU is buying up their gas reserves, when they are looking to them as an energy partner, that it does not discourage them. In fact, it encourages them more, because in their minds, they can subjugate this populace to terror. And the worst that they'll deal with is, maybe a press release or two. So while, it's a good starter, nobody should be satisfied with what we have in store. Nobody should be satisfied until Azerbaijan feels the punitive repercussions of such actions.
Okay, turning inwards, I guess there's been criticism that Armenian society in general, both I guess in Armenia and diaspora, is completely passive, and it seems like there's a sense of helplessness about the situation. Would you agree with this? And what would you what would be your call to Armenians worldwide about this situation?
I would say yes and no. I think the level of alarm, the level of concern, the level of engagement needs to be much higher, absolutely, throughout Armenia and throughout the diaspora. At the same time, I can say that there are incredibly devoted, caring, engaged Armenians throughout the world, in Yerevan, in Hayastan, wherever it may be, that are absolutely locked in tune what's going on, asking how they can help in any regard, trying to find ways that they can be useful to end this blockade, to assist the people here. I think the larger issue is that since the war, since 2020, we have an issue, whether that is on behalf of the current government in Armenia or the society at large, where there's this defeatist mentality of like whatever happens is beyond our control, and that's absolutely false. We have agency in our nation as Armenians. We have agency what happens to the future of Artsakh, and that is not up to any UN envoy, any Russian peacekeeping mission, any diplomatic statement, but that is up to and hinges upon the will of Armenians to see that Artsakh is not ethnically cleansed. That is up to us to kind of reverse this defeatist mentality, where every time something terrible happens, our only response can be to ask the outside world to care or to help. This is our nation. Artsakh is our land. Every Armenian plays a role in making sure that it remains so. So I think we have to do, and I'm not sure if this is something that can be solved within the timeline of this current crisis. It might be something that takes years to redevelop, but we do have to create this culture and this mentality that we are the inheritors and we are the folks that will control what happens to our destiny. And I think that speaks beyond this current situation. That speaks to what's going on in Sunik. That speaks to everything the Azeris and Turks are trying to do to subjugate and to pressure Armenia today.
Completely agree. All right, and lastly, news reports from Azerbaijan indicate that the provocateurs will spend the night, this night as well, on the corridor, continuing their blockade. Are you aware of any indications that the blockade may cease anytime soon?
I think the only way that I think there's a certain sense of uncertainty, which is one of the layers of this catastrophe, that you've got over 100,000 people that necessarily don't know. Hardship is difficult enough to take, but when you don't know what tomorrow brings, it makes it a little harder, right?
Right.
So I think that we're all kind of on that same boat, and to predict with the Azeris will do is not like a game I'm necessarily, or any of us are necessarily vested in playing. I think that the only way that this blockade ends is if there is pressure, whether that's diplomatically, whether that's through sanctions, whether that's through punitive measures, whether that's through fear of repercussions on behalf of the Azerbaijani government. That is the only way this blockade will end. And that's why we need everybody. We need our folks in the diaspora. We need our folks in Armenia to be incredibly engaged with this, to help raise their voice and to urge, whether it's our own government in Yerevan to take stronger stances, whether it's the agency that we have in nations across the world to lobby and to put pressure on Azerbaijan. It is only through that collective work that I think that anything tangible will happen.
All right. Thanks, Gev. Any final comments before we go?
Look, whether this blockade ends or not, this is going to be part of a systematic and methodical attempt by Azerbaijan to put pressure on the populace here. And that is not something that's going to end. When they first blocked the road, if the listeners are aware, about 2 weeks ago, many of us here on the ground that are kind of in tune with the situation off the bat said this is not the first time. This will not be the first time, and they will repeat doing this. And that is what they did. So my concern is that, look, if this blockade does end, and we hope that it does, don't think that Azerbaijan is going to stop pressuring, stop putting on hardships, stop committing human rights abuses upon the people of Artsakh. And that's why we need everyone's engagement. Artsakh is still Armenian land. Artsakh is still an independent republic. Artsakh is not gone. We have to be rid of these defeatist mentalities, and we have to hold on to what remains of this land here.
Thank you, Gev, and I appreciate all that you do for us, for everyone in the diaspora and in Armenia, and I hope you stay safe and strong.
Thanks for having me on, Hovik. It's incredibly vital that we have these conversations and that the folks are aware. And Grung, yourself, the whole team, you guys do a great job in that. So thank you guys, and I hope you guys, everyone, keeps in tune and stays engaged.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Take care.
That concludes this week's conversation on Grung. We look forward to your feedback, including your suggestions for conversation topics in the future. Contact us on our website at groong.org, that's GROONG, or on our Facebook page, ANN-Groong, or in our Facebook group, Groong-Armenian News Network. Special thanks to Lara Osborne for providing the music for our podcast. I'm Hovik Manucharyan, and on behalf of everyone in this episode, I wish you a good week. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.